Okay. I don't think I can give us a good story.
All right.
Well, maybe.
I can do it.
Okay. So I got this from Human Rights Watch. There is a new proposal in Boston, Massachusetts.
Boston.
About ending child marriage laws. It has not gone through yet, but we will see. So, let's see. Human Rights Watch sent a letter to the governor and was released this week. But now, between 2000 and 2016, more than 1,200 children under the age of 18 were married in Massachusetts, according to government data. Almost all of them were girls marrying adult men. 57 were under the age of 16, the state's legal age of consent. The current law sets the minimum marriage at 18, but allows children to marry with permission from a judge or a clerk and parental consent. When those conditions are met, there is 0 statutory age limit. And with that, I'm going to refer back to, I think it was episode before last.
Shit.
When I was criticizing the elected judges policy that we have, wherein instead of having judges appointed based on merit and their expertise and knowledge of the law, especially in rural small town areas, you've got basically whoever has the most money in this small town can essentially buy their position and not have any real substantive knowledge of the law. So
Roy Moore is not a legal expert.
Yeah, so that isn't much of a legal roadblock when it comes to ensuring the safety of these children.
There's no oversight or impediment.
If you have deeply religious parents who are pushing their child to get married for various reasons that I'm going to get into, and inept judges or county clerks see, what was their name?
Or corrupt.
Yeah.
No gay marriages.
Yeah, that
person.
lady.
Yeah. Well, she was divorced several times, which is something the Westboro Baptist Church pointed out.
But yeah, that's very, very little oversight for something that is this gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, and impactful. It's almost...
Anyways, so research has shown that marriage before the age of 18 is deeply harmful. It puts predominantly girls, who are far more likely to be subjected to child marriage than boys, at risk of harm to their health, curtailed education, poverty, and domestic violence. Children who are married can also face great difficulty in escaping abusive relationships and getting help, including from domestic violence and homeless shelters. This is something that I actually hadn't really thought about until I started delving into it. Some children marry because their parents force or coerce them, and in those cases, parental consent requirements basically amount to no protection at all.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say, is this like an elaborate ruse of like finding the parents that will marry off their children for whatever reason, and then CPS shows up and it's like, all right, well, clearly you don't have the best interests of this child at heart, would be the only way that this story could spin to something better. But I'm assuming it's not that.
Yeah. Children subjected to child marriage or violence face difficulties in retaining a lawyer because they're children. They're not of legal age. Filing, they can't file for divorce. So, or even seeking shelter.
Yeah, they can't defend themselves.
Yeah, it says that Massachusetts law limits how long children can stay in homeless shelters without parental consent, and several domestic violence shelters told Human Rights Watch that they do not admit children at all unless accompanied by a guardian.
I'm just trying to think what's worse, your parents consenting to you being homeless or not consenting to you being homeless?
Yeah. This is not
That's
child
a
trafficking.
really difficult question, actually. Because there's in Salt Lake City, it's been years since I looked at the statistic, but at the time it was 40% of the homeless population was LGBTQ youth or teenagers. And And I'm just imagining what it would be like if they were then also, there wasn't parental consent for them to go to a shelter. It's sort of, if you're going to kick someone out of the house, like I'm literally contemplating your rhetorical point now.
Yeah, I would imagine that, if you're an adult male who has married an underage girl, I'm going to go ahead and say that just on its face, that is an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
It is likely to be much more physical abusive than just, definitionally like as it is.
Yes, it's horribly unbalanced.
I can't imagine.
God.
Well, women are there to serve men, so what's the problem? I mean,
Yeah, you try and run away from home, which in an abusive relationship is statistically very low to build up that kind of courage, especially when you're a young girl
with no resources.
It's a low percentage.
I would assume that would be an even lower
adults.
percentage. Yeah. And then you either get turned away because you're not old enough to enter, a facility that is meant to give you shelter and protect you, or you get turned back over to your abusive husband or your parents, maybe 2-3 days later?
And it's also probable you don't have a network of friends.
Yep.
Likely not, yeah. I would imagine that
in that situation, it sounds like you're on your own.
But as I said, Massachusetts is putting this proposal forward right now.
Good.
We don't know which way it's going to go. I am hopeful, but...
Keep your fingers crossed. God.
Yeah.
But if you recall last year, right around the same time, early March, in Kentucky and Tennessee, almost identical bills were shot down because of the evangelical community. And I'm going to refer to a Salon article from March 11th. At least 9,247 minors were married in the United States in the year 2010 alone. This isn't a situation of teenagers marrying other teenagers, as a lot of people will try and put that spin.
Right.
According to... Yes.
Sorry, I'm also sort of like, oh, really? Okay, so if it was two 15-year-olds, then yes, definitely, they should go get married and live off on their own because they know how to...
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm just...
Well, it's funny because I don't know about each state's rule, but dating or having sex outside of marriage in that case would probably be statutory rape. But as soon as you get married, then it's cool.
Actually, yeah, that is a legal loophole that is taken full advantage of in this case. And I'm actually
Well, how long do you have to
sort
stay
of get to
married? Can you be married for like a night? You pick up a 15-year-old and you just have a one-night marriage and you have sex and then you get divorced?
It's funny that you say that because that's a loophole that...
Islam.
Yeah.
Actually, that's...
Quickie marriage.
Okay, so if you marry a child bride usually is the case, and she's, let's just say 16 for the sake of not going to such a gross age. 16 is still pretty damn young.
Yeah, just
for an adult
child
man.
bride.
Yeah, child bride.
Not for Kanye.
So she cannot legally divorce you until she's 18. Can you legally divorce her before she's 18? Are you locked in as well?
I think if you just
she absolutely is locked in. She cannot legally get out of it as a child. So yeah, I don't know. Are you locked in? What if you?
No, I can't imagine to be locked in.
No.
She doesn't make good scrambled eggs in the morning. She's out.
Oh, I make great scrambled eggs.
Good to know.
Well, if that's the bar, yeah. So you could survive as a child bride, is what you're saying? Sorry.
If that's the only criteria. Yeah. Anyways, it's not teenagers marrying teenagers.
No.
And that is according to Unchained at Last, a nonprofit that is working to stop forced child marriages. And actually, Unchained at Last is one of the nonprofits that helped Human Rights Watch put this proposal forth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not teens marrying teens. It's monsters marrying victims.
Yeah, the majority of child marriages are between teenage or younger girls and adult men.
That
Between 2000 and 2015, 86% of the reported 207,468 child marriages that took place in the United States were between minors and adults.
Those adults are
Only 14%
Filth.
were between two minors. 14%.
I was warned you like data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you?
yeah. Well, no, I mean, last week it was me with the statistics.
Was it?
That's true. Yeah.
14%?
14% were between two children, basically.
Jeez.
Out of over 200,000. And that was between, again, 2000 and 2015. Now, obtaining judicial or parental consent is also often a minimum hurdle, as we discussed,
Right.
to coercive child marriage. Judges appear to be quite willing to marry off teenagers to older men, particularly if they are pregnant. Parents are also not gatekeepers. They often push for marriage. For example, Donna Pollard, one of the activists currently pushing for child marriage ban in Kentucky. Again, this was last year, and this ban did not go through. Her mother convinced her to marry at the age of 16 to a 30-year-old man who was working at the mental health treatment center that she went to.
Oh, there's no conflicts there. No,
Yeah, there's no
power dynamics.
psychological.
No, not at all. So oftentimes, far too often, it is, as I said, there is kind of that legal loophole of statutory rape.
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest reasons why these happen. A girl is raped in a small town community, highly religious, and the parent's reaction is not, oh no, my daughter's been raped. It is, oh my God, she's going to be an unwed mother. What will the neighbors think?
Well, it's also very biblical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to marry a rape victim because that's fair.
Yeah. Although biblically they have to pay 30
30 pieces of silver? No, that's something else.
50,
Yeah.
50 schmeckles.
I thought it was 60.
Inflation.
Shekels of, yeah.
Remind me again why people.
Yeah, so, I mean,
I'm trying to keep my principles intact, but these people make it really hard.
yeah, people ask, oh, why can't you just live and let live? Why can't
Yeah.
you just let people
It's-
believe what they want to believe? It's not hurting anyone. Why do
is.
you have to attack religion the way that you do? Shit
Yeah.
like this, that's why.
Yeah.
Sexual slavery? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, it doesn't take a whole lot of Googling to find dozens of these stories for the
Oh,
show.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it just took me a minute or two to find a couple of things.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it was prominent evangelical lobbying groups
Yeah.
and prominent evangelical figures who shot down
Yeah. They're
both
monsters.
the Kentucky and the Tennessee bills last year, and they cited that the problem that they had with it was that the ban took away parental authority. You know those parents that are basically selling their pregnant daughters off to their rapist?
Right.
Yeah, it was saying that, you can't do that anymore because there
Actually,
has to be
aren't
some
they-
reasonable checks and balances.
aren't they then selling off two kids because they have
Oh.
the-
Yeah,
the-
they're selling off their grandkid as well.
Yeah.
the fetus is a human, so they're getting it's a 2-for-1. It's like a BOGO, buy one get one free.
Jesus.
I wonder if that.
These shit stains presume to lecture us on morality.
Yeah, put a pin in that. I'm just gonna come back. Yeah, I will say what's interesting about this is that the evangelical lobby does not represent a majority of American citizens. It's a minority. It's a well-organized minority, and they have more say in your government than you because you're not organized.
Yeah,
They're
and
fucking loud.
They're a powerful group.
Yeah,
Even
hopefully
though
They're motivated and have money.
even though they make a minority, and they're even within Christians, they have a minority view.
Yeah, it's even though their numbers are about the same size as people that do not affiliate with a religion, and the majority of Americans do not hold Christian nationalist views. Actually, if you're done, this transition is perfectly.
Actually, I wanted
okay.
to do it because I just wanted to give like a, for instance, just imagine if you take away the homophobia aspect that is certainly deep within this culture. Imagine, you were molested as a child and your parents said, okay, well, we gotta keep up appearances within the community. You now have to get married to the man who molested you. Can you imagine that? That's psychological torture.
I can imagine it, but they can't.
In a world that is actually happening right now.
And it happens essentially every day in this fucking country.
Yeah.
And we have Christians to thank for it.
There's too many people who cannot put themselves in another person's shoes for even a microsecond.
A small segment of the evangelical
population
but
as a good friend of mine who's a Christian would say, is misrepresenting Christianity.
Yeah.
So stand up and correctly represent Christianity.
Yeah.
Or stop posting on my Facebook wall.
And Massachusetts,
if you don't agree with this, then shout louder.
Please, Massachusetts, approve this bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
for fuck's sake.
Yeah. Just in case you live in Massachusetts and want to call some people, but yeah.
Okay.
Or your state can be labeled as pro-sexual slavery. Cool. We'll just do that.
Yeah.
That's how we'll frame it.
Denis is firing up the label maker right now.
That's
What's wrong?
Kentucky and Tennessee.
Brother.
Yeah.
Pro-sexual slavery.